Welcome back to another episode of the Game Preview Podcast presented by WynnBET. Betting is a team sport. Bet together at WynnBET. Cynthia Frelund on the West Coast, Ethan Greenberg on the East Coast. Kicking off things, as always, with the coin toss. And if you've been listening, you know that Cynthia is going to go tails. If you're new, you just learned Cynthia always goes tails. So I'm just gonna flip the coin. Is that fair?
It's perfect.
All right, here we go. The coin toss simulator. It is a tails. All right. Real shocker here. Cynthia always wins here on the Game Preview Podcast. So let's start with this, Cynthia. You want to talk about this Jets offense first, or are we going to talk about this red-hot Miami team, specifically their offense?
Let's start with Miami's offense. We kind of end on the nice crescendo of the Jets offense.
You're dropping a crescendo here at
Listen, you went to that fancy journalism school, but I know words, some of them.
I think you know more words than I do, and you definitely know more math. But anyway, let's start with this Dolphins offense. Let's start at the running back position. So let's start with this Dolphins rushing offense against the Jets rushing defense. This quarter, our first quarter, is presented by Home Field IT. As we're recording this podcast, the Dolphins might have a running back issue, Cynthia. So how could that potentially play a big factor for the Jets here Sunday?
So Myles Gaskin is probably the most likely. I mean, again, we'll see who's playing at the time. But the interesting part about the way that they use this run game is that their quarterback can take off and scramble quite a bit. So when you look to see, like I said, it's probably likely Myles Gaskin that will play. Keep an eye on that come closer to game time. But that's going to be where the real kind of tricks happen. Like kind of how, well, we didn't see the Eagles do that with Gardner Minshew, but how the Eagles would have done it a little bit more with Jalen Hurts. The scrambling ability, that ability to throw on the run, that kind of thing. That's what we're going to see. So the run will be a trick for the pass.
Right. And just for reference, if you don't know what we're talking about here, Myles Gaskin, Salvin Ahmed, and Phillip Lindsay all on the reserve COVID-19 list for the Dolphins at the time we're recording this. Something to monitor. So if those guys can't play or aren't in the lineup, I know the Dolphins aren't a predominant running team, but how does that change the complexity of maybe what the Dolphins want to do and how the Jets approach their defensive game plan?
Well, right now everyone's like, the Dolphins are red hot because they have won kind of a lot of games in a row. But part of what makes them so red hot is the fact that they run. So it's going to make them more one-dimensional, which is going to be a lot more difficult for them to succeed with the things that they do, like the play action passes, like the fact that when we see Tua succeed, his completion percentage using play action, especially to Jalen Waddle, has been really great. So those are things that will be sort of minimalized. They'll be muted. So it'll be a good opportunity for the Jets to see if they can adapt to that and leverage their strong defense in order to shut that down a little bit more.
Right. And this Jets rush defense, they've seen some good rushing offenses the past 2 weeks. Going back to the Eagles game, I know Jalen Hurts did not play, but the Eagles are a very good run team. And also then last week, the Jets saw the combination of Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill. And I know the numbers are not great from last week, but if you talk to the Jets defenders like CJ Mosley, who had 17 tackles, Jeff Ulbrich talked to the media Monday, he thought that the Jets and the defense did a better job against the run, but that's kind of what you're going to get when you have Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill and not a lot of receivers for the Saints.
Yeah, so let's just level set there. CJ Mosley had 17 tackles. And by the way, it was really, really interesting that they like the defensive stops. So PFF will kind of grade those defensive stops a little bit different. They said 6 defensive stops for him, which means that he was credited with like slowing the pace, stopping the defense from getting a first down. When I look at it, first downs and his ability to change what happens in the run game, CJ Mosley's gotten better like pretty much every game this season. So that's a really huge strong point for this run stopping situation.
Is there anything else that you want to add in here before we go on to our second quarter? Because I feel like the Dolphins run game, it's solid, but it's not top of the league. It actually ranks towards the bottom of the league. And I feel like there's not a lot of meat and potatoes here to discuss, but if there's any numbers that stand out to you, whether it be Jets rush defense, Dolphins rush offense, this is the time to do so, because if not, we're putting it in the rear view and we're moving on to the second quarter.
Well, the only last thing that I'll say is that pressures, I know we usually talk about pressures on passing downs. Well, the interesting part about getting a pressure on a running down in a situation we've seen with the Dolphins is, tackling a runner at or behind the line of scrimmage on what could be a disguised run pass play, right? So I kind of think of those things as a run stopping situation, because when you use a lot of play action, yes, it's a pass, but point being, if you can get behind the line of scrimmage to kind of get negative yards, that's an opportunity here. And their O-line has been very susceptible to that as well. So in this situation with confusion at running back, this could be a prime opportunity to see some of those run stops like go all the way back into their backfield.
Something definitely to keep an eye on for Sunday in South Florida. That was our first quarter presented by Home Field IT. Let's move on to the second quarter here. The Jets passing defense against the Dolphins passing offense. Tua Tagovailoa completing a high percentage of his passes, not really pushing the ball downfield a whole lot, but he has thrown the ball more than 30 times in each of his last 3 starts. What do you see from him that's been working for this Dolphins offense, and how did the Jets stop it?
Yeah, so Tua Tagovailoa has been, like I said, one of the best with play action, one of the best on those shorter passes as well. They're not asking him to sling it downfield very often, and when they are, it's in situations where the defense is tricked, like short yardage situations, and then they'll take a very specific and planned strategic deep gash. Jalen Waddle's been excellent. Jalen Waddle, now we got Devontae Parker's back off IR as well. So there's more pass catching options. Mike Gesicki has been helpful for them as well. And obviously he's a tight end. So interestingly enough, when you look to see where, these are higher probability passes, and, Brian Flores comes from the Patriots model, and they're kind of using the Patriots-esque model with Tua Tagovailoa there too, meaning they're using just very high probability situations and running them over and over and over again. So it has been very helpful. And then, by the way, leaning on their defense. It really helps if your defense steps up, if you're using these higher probability, shorter yardage plays. So it's not Jalen Waddle's having an awesome year. We should probably, mention, as far as rookies go, he's been excellent. So that's going to be a problem to try to figure out all the different ways that they're stopping pass. But there's some good pass stopping people that I like. I mean, my Bryce Hall, I'm love watching him. He's really taken this monstrous step forward.
Yeah, what can you tell us about Bryce Hall before we get into Jalen Waddle, Devontae Parker, who the Jets did not see when these teams met in Week 11, but feels like Bryce Hall, when he got drafted, a lot of draft analysts and your colleagues say, you know what, like this guy, if he wasn't hurt at the time he was drafted, probably be a day 2 pick. The Jets tab him in the 5th round, starts the year on the physically unable to perform list, plays the back half of the season for the Jets, and it really feels like his game, especially lately, has been taken to a whole other level for the Jets.
In 2 games, he's allowed 15 yards of progress for the other team in passing situations. So in coverage last week, 6 yards to the Saints. And the week before, 9 yards. That means 15 yards in 2 games. Many people allow 15 yards on 1 play, not 2 games, right? So he's been awesome, really fun to watch and taking a huge step forward. I think they've done a good job drafting. There's a lot of really awesome draft successes to point to over the last 2 seasons. So Joe Douglas has done a good job. It just needs to all kind of keep coming together.
Right. And also you talk about a young secondary that has Bryce Hall, the cornerback opposite him, 6th round rookie, Brandon Eccles, the starting nickel corner, a 5th round pick, Michael Carter II, who we've talked about before. But talking about this Dolphins offense, you mentioned Jalen Waddle. He had a touchdown against the Jets. His game at Alabama was so vertical, but given the way that the Dolphins play their offense, it feels like they're really utilizing him underneath and allowing him to catch the ball and get yak and get yards after the catch, for if you don't know what yak is. And can you talk about the difference in the way that you saw him play in Alabama versus how he's playing now, and just how he's been able to almost develop his game as more than just the speedy guy who likes to go downfield?
Seems like a million years ago that Devontae Smith won the Heisman, and everyone was they really had in their head, oh, Devontae Smith, because he caught all those passes. Well, one of the reasons that he caught all those passes is Jalen Waddle was hurt. So people kind of forgot, we're all a victim of recency bias sometimes, right? So when Jalen Waddle was coming out, you had to look 2 years back at his film to really understand what he was. And that was in a different situation completely. So, projecting that forward, that was an interesting one to note, because I actually had Jalen Waddle as being more bursty off the line of scrimmage. So his first 3 yards, he's faster than any guy. I mean, I think Justin Jefferson was a bit quicker than him, but in the past 2 seasons, there were only a few guys just overall coming out in those 2 draft classes that had more in the first 3 steps than him. So it's really leveraging the fact that he can beat. That's like a man beater right there, right? You line up in man coverage and that guy's got to jump on you. That's very difficult. And then mixing him up, using him in different situations, not just saying, oh, this guy has more speed or so, whatever. Let's put him on vertical routes. Let's just run goes. No. Like, let's use him in a little bit more complex routes, because if there's one thing I can tell you about studying like all of this math for all of these years, like Alabama receivers, they run precise routes, like almost all of them. They're just ridiculous. Like, go watch every single one of them since Julio Jones. Like, just keep going. Like, they're where they need to be at the time that they need to be, which is really helpful, especially as they open up the playbook and ask him to do things that require more yak, which means you need more separation if you're going to get that yards after the catch, and he does that really well.
WynnBET is now live in New Jersey, and they're bringing the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas to online sports betting. Get in on all your favorite teams, players, and sports, from boosted parlays to live in-game odds on every major sport. They have what you need to win. Sign up today to receive a special offer, risk-free $1,000 sports bet. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com to start winning. WynnBET, an official sportsbook and gaming partner of the New York Jets. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at wynnbet.com. Must be 21 or older and present in New Jersey. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-270-7117.
Because I wanted to be here anyway. I wanted to be in New York anyway. I really want to play for the Jets. Like, we turn up the biggest city in the world.
There is no more passionate, more fervent fan base in the entire NFL.
That was a great analysis. And I got a couple more questions before we hit halftime here. One is, knowing that Tua likes to throw short passes, how do you try to disrupt him then? Like, do you have to just play more press man coverage in the back end? Like, how do you try to throw Tua off, knowing that the ball is probably coming out of his hands in a perfect world very quickly?
I think to me, the strategy, look, coach knows this is where a coach's specialty is. Like, one, because coach was obviously, if you look back at how San Francisco's offense went, these are concepts that he had to face all the time, right? These are like primarily interesting, quick passes, getting them out very, very fast. Interestingly enough, I mean, you actually saw some of those against what the Saints were sort of throwing out there. I mean, Taysom Hill's far more mobile, but they do leverage quick passes a lot with Taysom Hill. With most quarterbacks these days, it's often quick passes. So some press man, it would be mixing up looks, but to me, it's first down is going to be the key. If you can keep first down off balance, meaning if you can get it 2nd and 10, make them think about it a little bit more, and then give yourself a better opportunity to get into unfavorable third downs, that's going to be the key, because the quick pass approximates a run for a lot of teams, right? If you think about like what it sets up on 2nd down, and means you can have your full playbook open on 3rd down. These are the things where it's just focus on first down. Keep one thing at a time. Fundamental. First down. Stop it.
First down. Got it. First down. First down is the new 3rd down. Anyway,
it is.
One last question for you here. This is obviously the 2nd time that the Jets will be seeing this offense, this RPO heavy offense. How much does it help a team just seeing the team for a 2nd time around? And we're not talking about the difference between weeks 1 and 18. We're talking about, a couple weeks here.
Yeah, so if you have an RPO offense, the defense chooses the play for the offense to some degree, right? So where, that's kind of the whole point of giving yourself the option, because based on the defense that you see. So I would argue that you're probably using the defensive front in different ways to mix up the looks. Like, you could easily trick Tua. We've seen it before. I mean, it's, again, recency bias. Yes, the Dolphins have been on a hot streak. They've been on a tear, and they're a good team, and probably better than their original. They're not as bad as they were in the beginning of the season, and they're not as good as they are come these past few games. So it really is just, figuring out the defensive looks to kind of get to in situations where he's unfamiliar and he doesn't know what he's looking at. That's going to be the key in this one. If they can mix up the looks, especially on the, like, use the back just to mix up the looks a little bit, so the front gets like just another beat for pressure.
All right. And that was our 2nd quarter, which brings us to halftime. I was thinking about a short halftime, but I don't really have any topics to bring up, because next week, the week leading up to Christmas, that's going to be a good halftime. I got some things up the sleeves that we can bring up here, but I guess I just have to follow up on the cookies. Have you done anything with the cookies over the past week? Have you tweaked the recipe at all? I mean,
I have.
What are we looking at here? Okay.
So I also had to, for game day morning this week, I had to make a gingerbread house. Now, here was the assignment. we all had to decorate a gingerbread house of a team that was currently out of the playoff picture that could potentially make the playoffs. And I thought it'd be kind of funny, since I'm like a little bit nerdy and like whatever, to like overdo my homework. So no one else did their gingerbread house at home except for your girl, who absolutely, like, I went way overboard. Like, it was like a science project. It was like just like so extra. And I know one of our, like obviously the Eagles they're not in the same division, but the Eagles were my choice. By the way, here's a little behind the scenes. I never get to pick first on anything. Never on locks, never on, because I would pick the Colts, right? So whatever. So I don't get to pick first. So I picked the Eagles, but my Eagles gingerbread house, it had a Philly cheesesteak on it. It had pictures of Swoop. That's their mascot. I mean, the whole thing, you have to check it out. I went way overboard. So, and you could actually eat it. And then I also put glue on it once we got to the thing. So don't eat it now, but you could have eaten it.
I cannot see our producer right now, but he's an Eagles fan back.
Oh, I know. I hope he saw it.
Philadelphia days. He is probably jumping for joy right now. I'm expecting a Microsoft Teams message momentarily that I will gladly read whatever he says. But I'm impressed. I mean, right? Like, that sounds fun though. Like, of course you got to go overboard.
It was, I went way overboard. It was very funny because they were like decorating their thing on set. I just like whipped mine out. It was so fun because of course that's my thing. I'm very nerdy. I overdo it and I know how to cook and bake. So we're good.
I got a message from our producer, Matt Sickoff, says, jumping for joy sounds so fun. Of course he's jumping for joy.
It's great. And I think like the real pièce de résistance, I think I said that right, was the cheesecake. Like, I put it on a little cookie, the cheesesteak it was a picture of a cheesesteak that I like transferred onto a cookie. And it was pretty. There was a stadium. Like, there was a whole stadium. And Santa, at the end of game day morning, we yell, the New York Jets are coming out of the tunnel. And so I put Santa coming out of the tunnel. It was good. It's a lot of that.
I think I'm going to need photos. I need photos.
Oh,
because
they're there. They're on my Instagram too. They're all there. They're all there. It was a lot.
I'll go look. Not on the air, because that's like the equivalent to me of texting and driving. Maybe. I mean, it's obviously not as dangerous, but I'll do it. I will promise to do it afterwards. More importantly though, you brought up the cheesesteaks. Do you have a favorite cheesesteak? Do you go provolone whiz? Do you not like cheesesteaks? Are you pro cheesesteaks? I got a lot of questions about the cheesesteaks, even though this is not a Philly show here.
I like to try every food from a city. I went to I was at a preseason game at the Eagles and a couple summers ago, and I tried all of the cheesesteaks. And I liked them all. And that's not a very satisfying answer for anyone from Philadelphia, because they want you to pick. But I don't know. I liked all of them. I just liked it. I liked it with, I liked it with the provolone, I think, a little bit more. And then I loaded up. Like, I was happy with all of it.
I'm Team Whiz.
I know. People like that too. I'm not as much whiz. I like the provolone, I think. I think it's because like...
Yeah, it's definitely processed and, not as good for you. But at that point, I'm going in. If I were a poker player and you're to make this analogy, all my chips are in, right? I mean, what are we doing here? But yeah, you're right. The onions, the peppers, maybe like if they had a little spicy peppers. Oh man.
But usually I like things that are a little more spicy. So whatever. But I liked all of it. I thought it was all good. And everyone's like, well, don't you pick a favorite? I was like, I don't know. I really like them all. They're all really good.
I agree with that. To me, it's like, I think a cheesesteak is one of the more difficult foods to mess up. You know what I mean? Like it's meat and cheese, and you just kind of, put it together and you put it in a loaf of bread. I mean, what are we talking about here? Obviously, the good ones are very good and the great ones are great, but it's just hard to make a bad one. That's where I'm at.
One of my best friends out here in California is like a diehard everything Philadelphia. And so you can go out, there's some services that you can mail the cheesesteak. So like, it's the easiest present for her ever. I just mail her, because they have her favorite one on there, and I just mail it, and it's great. It's easy. It's like, I'm like, great. It's awesome. Easy
that sounds like a great, easy gift, right? Like, you don't have to think
Super
twice
easy.
about it. Here you go. I know you like it. You don't have to lie about it. You don't have to pretend that you like it in front of my face, because I know that you like it. I love it. All right. Well, anyway, that was a great halftime. That was unexpected. So
people think betting is about what you know. It's also about who you're with. And with the WynnBET sports betting and casino app, you bet with Wynn.
Ben, look at this. Look at this. New York plus 3.5 at home. They're 44 and 22.
Greg, no New York bets. Hey.
Hope you didn't bet on Boston.
Shaq, did you bet on Boston?
I went with Greg on this one. He has a whole system. Big payout, big payout, big payout, big payout.
Ooh,
Greg.
Yes. What is the Greg system? I pick by color mostly.
That brings us to the third quarter. We're now going to talk about this Jets offense. Let's start on the ground because the Jets are expected to get Michael Carter back in the lineup.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Cynthia's jacked up about that.
I love Michael Carter.
And they're expecting to get Tevin Coleman back after missing last week with a concussion.
Great.
So that's good news for the Jets backfield. And when the Jets played the Dolphins at MetLife, they ran the ball pretty effectively until Michael Carter got hurt. He was well on his way to having what seemed like a career day for him. So what kind of difference do you think not only Michael Carter, but also Tevin Coleman back in the lineup could mean for the Jets offense?
Everything. It's those short pass. It's a game changer. I mean, it's really hard to play. Like this sounds really stupid, but it's easier to play when more of the good players are there. Or in this year, we can say, especially this week, it's easier to play when the players are there. Because if you look around the league, we don't even know who's playing in almost any game. So look, getting more of your better players back, and Michael Carter and Tevin Coleman have proven they can, those short passes those concepts have been a huge difference maker for the Jets. Like, period, full stop. Like the ability to create different looks and disguise the run with play, disguise the pass and disguise the run, and to figure out those short passes in order to earn those yards. Like has been what has been working. So with Michael Carter back, that should be helpful. But by the way, a guy who's really good at after the contact, catch or on the ground, Michael Carter. And same with Tevin Coleman, but Michael Carter has been really impressive as a rookie to be able to do that.
Right. And Michael Carter seemed like he was turning a corner in his rookie year at the time in which he got hurt, but now he's expected to be back, obviously. So that's good for the Jets. What could the running game do for Zach Wilson against this Dolphins defense that's been playing very stingy over the course of their 5-game win streak?
I'm going to say keep him away from pressure, because what the Dolphins have done in their win streak is bring a ton of heat. The number of sacks, the number of turnovers, everything has gone out. So 3.8 sacks per game and 2.2 takeaways in weeks, since week 9. That's their 5-0 win streak versus 1.5 sacks a game and 1.1 takeaway game in weeks 1 through 8. So if you get the run game going, you stay away from Jalen Phillips. He has 5 sacks over the last 2 games. That's a lot. So the point is stay away from pressure, use run concepts in order to stay in manageable downs and distances. Again, the Brian Flores model comes from the Patriots model, so it's not dissimilar. Deceptive looks in the back, so the defensive backs will mix up their looks to look like man, but be playing zone or vice versa. And then the front will use multiple fronts in order to try to trick the quarterback. Run the ball. Then you don't have to worry about all of these different things, because then you're in more manageable downs and you control the flow of that.
Yeah, I think that just leads us right into the fourth quarter. Let's get right into it, which is your point exactly. The reason why the Jets started Joe Flacco in Week 11 at MetLife Stadium is because Robert Saleh said the team felt, and the coaching staff felt, that Joe Flacco could dissect the different looks that the Dolphins have to offer. Joe Flacco played very well in that game. Now we're talking about a rookie, the number 2 overall pick, going up against an exotic front, like you mentioned. So what are the challenges that Zach Wilson is going to see? And you kind of detailed it there. And also, how good of an experience will this be? Because Robert Saleh said, this is the type of stuff that he's going to need to see at some point, and it's going to come this Sunday in Miami.
I'm going to tell you, last game, one thing that was a bit overlooked, because sometimes once the pass got out of the quarterback's hand, it didn't go exactly where it planned. But the O-line played a lot better last week. When you go back and watch that game against the Saints, this is a Saints defense that is super, super tough, and they didn't allow a ton of pressure. It was not it was not on the O-line, right? When a lot of these, their concepts, they held the ball kind of as they held the line so that the ball could get back to the quarterback and get where it needs to be, where it probably should have. It was low key better than it may have seemed based on the final score. But, I think if they can keep that same situation going, then Zach Wilson will have a chance to really learn from this situation, because it will be easier to learn if he can have a chance, just another beat, a half a second. I know that sounds strange, but a half a second average over the course of the game is a huge difference maker. So, if you look to see, just hold on to the ball just a little bit longer so we can let things form, let the opportunity present itself, see what the defense gives them, and then be able to take it. So I think it'll be a great experience for him. I mean, it's always tough, because this is a really good defense that he's facing. This isn't a defense. There's no like asterisk there. This is a really good defense. They've pulled it together, figured it out, and gotten better every week this season. So the reason they're on the 5-game win streak is because of their defense. I mean, that Ravens game, all defense, right? So this is going to be a trick, and it's going to be an opportunity for Zach Wilson to take a big leap forward because, he missed a few games, so he's still got that rookie learning curve, and this will be a good one for that.
I think that's a great point. And also, just can you talk about the challenges of not having Corey Davis and Elijah Moore against this defense in particular? Just looking at last week, Braxton Berrios led the team 6 catches, 52 yards. DJ Montgomery, his first NFL game was last week. Then you got Keelan Cole had 1 catch, and Jamison Crowder had 3 catches. Denzel Mims and Vincent Smith, the other 2 receivers who were up, both held out of the stat sheet. So what needs to happen for this Jets receiving core to try to make up for the losses of Corey Davis and Elijah Moore this week?
Short passes to the running backs. But ultimately, also, what else needs to happen is space. So they need to mix up the different routes that they're running to create more space in the middle of the field so the short passes work. You got to get those corners engaged elsewhere so that you can use the middle of the field, the space between the hashes. That's a higher probability situation as long as you don't throw late over the middle. We know that, right? But at the end of the day, it's being able to say, okay, they know they're going to have to spread it out so that they can leverage then they can bring it back down and use those run game concepts and those short passes to running backs to create the foundation so that when there is a deep pass, it is strategic, it makes sense, and it's a higher probability situation. The deep passes are never as high probability as shorter passes. It's just the law of it's just how that works, right? But you got to give yourself an awesome situation to it's way better if your receiver on a deep route has 3 yards of separation than if they're in tight coverage. So that's just how it goes. So see if you can figure out your best man beaters. See if you can figure out your best situations to just because we know Zach Wilson has the arm. It's not about talent. It's about being able to see it, diagnose it, and be put in a situation where these are great corners. Keep them out of it.
Keep Xavier Howard and Byron Jones the hell away from the field. In reality, obviously they're going to play a big part for this Dolphins defense. So that's how we wrap up the fourth quarter. I want to say one thing. You said earlier, I said, what does the addition of Michael Carter mean? You said everything, which immediately makes me want to know, what is your favorite bagel? Is it an everything bagel? Because for me, it is.
This is going to sound strange, but I love an onion bagel with butter. I understand it's weird, but that was what my grandpa used to make that for me.
It's not weird.
Oh, it's the best. And the smell of it even, I'm like, I need all of this. And I do have a favorite New York bagel because my college roommate, went to BC, whatever, my college roommate, big New Yorker, we tried, and I had to try them. I can't just pick a favorite for no reason, but Essa bagel to me was my favorite.
I respect that. I respect that you need to try all of them because
I had to.
I need to do.
And one summer I spent an entire summer in Chicago looking for the best burrito in Chicago.
Ooh.
Harder than you might imagine. Out here in LA, way different.
It doesn't sound like an easy task.
No. And it was actually this place called A Burrito As Big As Your Head, which I thought was going to be awful. And it was really huge, but it was delicious.
This sounds like I'm just going to assume you've seen Elf. It sounds like,
congratulations, you did it.
Yeah. Yeah. The world's greatest cup of coffee. Yeah. That's exactly what that sounds like to me. But so you're team butter over team cream cheese in general, or just with the onion bagel?
Just with the onion bagel.
I
cream cheese on almost everything else, but toasted onion with butter. Ooh, I love butter. Butter's my favorite condiment by far.
Oh, that's a take, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I have to really think about it, but it's a good condiment. I don't know. How do you feel about ranch?
I like ranch a lot,
versatile.
But it's not as versatile. Butter, tell me something that isn't better with butter on it. I'll wait.
You actually want me to answer that or
Yeah.
no?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think sushi sounds particularly good with butter.
I don't know. It's butter on fish. Think about it. You dip lobster in butter all the time.
I do.
So,
but that's shellfish. That's like cooked shellfish. I'm talking about raw salmon.
I don't know. I think it might be good with butter too. Think about that versus ranch. You want to put ranch on there? Woof. No. I'm not claiming ranch is better on sushi. I didn't say ranch is better with everything on it, or anything is better with ranch on it. I will say though that
the Jets play the Bills week 18, and I am dreading, or maybe looking forward to, seeing the look on the waiter's face when myself and whoever else wants to join me says, "Can I please have a side of ranch with the buffalo wings?"
I did that too.
I'm not blue cheese. I'm not a blue cheese guy. I
don't like
understand
that
it's
it's lumpy.
classic. Da, 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 da. Welcome to the 21st century. Give me the ranch, okay?
I don't like the lumps. Like, I don't like the lumpiness. But I will say, you got to try Josh Allen to benefit his grandmother and a children's hospital that he does work with. He put out 3 sauces. There's like a barbecue, and then a spicy, and then a mild wing sauce. And they're all very good. The spicy one isn't too spicy. That's the best one.
I'm in for that. I'm good with that.
And especially because all the proceeds go to the children's hospital. Like, all good. You feel good eating it. You're like, okay, I'm in. This works.
Good sauce for a good cause, or good sauce for a great cause.
That's right.
So, well, we'll get there as we get towards the rest of the season. Miami, obviously, they're known for different foods, not buffalo wings. We'll get to it. That was another edition of the Game Preview Podcast
Sushi with
presented
butter.
by WinBet.
You could go get sushi with butter this weekend.
Oh, yes. I'll go catch the fish in the ocean, and then I will go put butter on it in my hotel room. Or I'll bring it to a restaurant and say, "Can you just put butter on the raw fish,
you're gonna be like,
please?"
"This is delicious." I'm telling you. I'm sure butter tastes good on fish. It's good. I think it'd be good.
That is my homework. And if you're listening, that is your homework. If you like raw fish and butter, please let us know, because I have some questions. Cynthia wants to be your teammate and gang up on me. That's all right. That's how we're ending this podcast of the Game Preview Podcast presented by WinBet. Betting is a team sport. Bet together at WinBet. Cynthia, we'll talk to you next week.
Bye. Safe travels.